is personal, is an impression that arises as a result of believing that you are born, meaning that you are the result of something, that something produced you, something created you, something caused you. And so you experience yourself to be a phenomenon. And you are asking yourself, what am I? And this question itself is a result of you believing that you are a phenomenon, that you are the effect of a cause, that you are the result of creation, that you have been created. And so the questions that arise to you, they arise out of that which has been created. But in fact, that which has been created, whatever questions that it asks, it poses them within the creation. It is posing them within the phenomenal realm. And the experience of the phenomenal realm does not have the answer to its causality. But within the question, what am I, which is a dream question, there is the potential of seeing that there is no answer that can come from the mind. Because this question, what am I or what is it, will bring up all sorts of answers, but none of which can answer the question. Sooner or later, you will find the answers to be exhausted, and all what remains is the question. A question that has exhausted itself of all possible answers. Cause and effect are in the realm of the mind, in the dream realm, in the realm of thought, in the realm of manifestation. What you are what reality is, what truth is not in that realm. It embraces the entire realm, but it is not in that realm. It recognizes all manifestation to be its own modulation, its own dream. But it does not recognize itself as anything. Outside of being itself, which is beyond words, beyond the mind. It is not possible for you to find peace and happiness as long as you have not answered that question to yourself. What am I? What is it? What is reality? Your experience will continue to be lacking. You will continue to experience a dissatisfaction until you arrive to the fulfillment of your question within yourself. And it has to be an absolute certainty. So in a way, the way the dream is designed is for the body mind to experience unhappiness, to experience contractions, as long as it has not been correctly understood. All of us, all 7.7 billion humans, are looking for the answer. What am I truly? What's going on? What is it? What is happiness? How can I reach it? How can I be happy? How can there be peace? Peace within, peace in the world. Although we may be preoccupied with external matters, family matters, relationships, work, etc., although we may be preoccupied, still in our heart, we yearn for an answer to that question. We all yearn for coming to the peace and the happiness that does not come and go, that defies the mind. We are looking for peace and happiness in everything we do, in our pursuits of relationships, our pursuits of money, our pursuits of fame, our pursuits of love, our pursuits of recognition. We are looking for the answer. What is the reality? What is it that is real? What is it that does not come and go? What is causeless peace and happiness? And we cannot be satisfied with any talks, any words. We want to come to it personally. We want to live it, be it, taste it, discover it for ourselves. We are looking for that has no cause. That has nothing that precedes it. We are looking for that which is absolute. How can you find that which is absolute, which is the complete certainty? By being something relative. How can you, being something relative, find that which is absolute? It is not possible. Only the real can know the real. Only truth can know truth. Only the absolute can know the absolute. So either you give up because you believe yourself to be a relative, to be a body, mind in time and space, or you contemplate what is it that is absolute in your experience? What is it in your experience that is complete certainty? If you decide to stay and look at what is it in your experience that is complete certainty, if you decide not to give up, if you decide not to accept the notion that you are something relative, you are a body mind that is going to die in so many years. If you accept to contemplate what is it in your experience that is absolute, then you pose that question right now. Right now, you ask yourself, what is it in my experience that is absolute, that is complete certainty? It is not your thoughts, because they come and go. It is not your body, because bodily sensations come and go. It is not your image, because your image changes all the time with your moods and your emotions. It is not your belongings, because your belongings come and go. One day you win, next day you lose. What remains in your experience right now that does not come and go, that is absolute, that is complete certainty? You will find that there is something that is beyond words, that you cannot weigh it, measure it, describe it, paint it, color it, which is the reality of awareness, the reality of whatever it is that perceives right now, the reality of being, which is formless, ageless, has no age, has no size, yet you cannot deny awareness. And this awareness, when you contemplate it, you do not find it to belong to anybody. You do not find it to be better over here and worse over there. You do not find it to be stronger awareness in the morning and weaker awareness in the afternoon. When you look at awareness, and you have to know what you are looking at, you're not looking at the body mind, you're not looking at thoughts, you're not looking at feelings, you're looking at that, the reality that perceives, the reality that is. You will find that it does not change, because changing, the changeless qualities do not apply to that which is formless, which has no phenomenal qualities. you realize in your experience that which has no phenomenal qualities, which is real, which is completely undeniable. And yet you cannot perceive it as you perceive an oak tree in the yard. And this awareness doesn't belong to anybody, is not contained in any container. It doesn't have a yellow box with a pink ribbon. It is not inside your room or inside the kitchen or inside the grocery store. It has no location. A chair has a location, a car has a location, a body has a location, but awareness has no location. So when you say my awareness, you are not talking correctly. Because there is no mind, no belonging, no owner of awareness. There's just the recognition of awareness. Awareness recognizing itself. I know I am. I know I am aware. Period. And whatever is formless, whatever has no phenomenal qualities, is causeless. It has no causality. That which has no causality cannot be affected by the weather, cannot be affected by thoughts, cannot be affected by bodily sensations, cannot be affected by the political climate. And this awareness that we are talking about is what we refer to as I. I am aware. I am awareness, aware that I am aware. I awareness am. I awareness am aware that I'm aware. I'm aware and I'm aware that I'm aware. It is awareness that is aware. And this awareness is complete transparency. It's the transparency that you are, the transparency that is. And when you contemplate the phenomenal world, you will find that the phenomenal world is only known by you. In other words, you know the phenomenal world via your experience. Your experience of the phenomenal world is the phenomenal world. Like your night dreams are properties of your mind, the dreamer's mind. They are not outside of you. They do not exist outside of you. The pink flying elephant in your night dreams does not exist outside of you. The oak tree that you perceive in your waking state is not outside of you because you are perceiving your perception. The oak tree is your very perception of the oak tree. But when you believe yourself to be a separate subject looking at a separate object, there is the belief in duality, and you will experience duality. You will feel and you will perceive a tree out there and you in here. You will experience I am in here and the tree is out there. Similarly, when you put purple glasses on, you will perceive the snow with a purple color. The snow will be purple. You will perceive, your experience will be of purple snow, purple walls, purple sky, purple everything. Until you look at the belief that you are born, that you are the body mind, that you are a separate subject, that you are the consequence of a certain cause, until you examine that and realize that there is no cause to I. I is not the effect of any cause. when you come to that inquiry, only then the purple shades will start to become fainter and fainter and fainter, and then drop off your perceptual field, and you will perceive the snow as it is. So if you have any questions, we can take this time to be together to look at your questions. There are a couple of questions that were sent to me, but for now, we can address the questions or the comments or the discussions that we are interested in right here.
Magdi?
Yes, hello, Zoe?
Hi. Yeah.
Hello.
Well, my mom went into hospice this last week, and I'm flying out this next week to be with her because I don't know, how much longer she'll have in her body. But, I was sitting here thinking about, so my mom is me. My mom is me. And I had such a rough time with her growing up, but now I'm seeing it was like my resistance to her, to seeing that she was me, in a sense. And anyway, it's just such gratitude to have this teaching and to have that whole relationship shift. And I was sitting here, also the past couple of days, I've really been looking into this whole concept of that there's any choice in any of this. That the thought appears saying, okay, let's make this decision. But where did that thought come from? And I don't know. It's more just, I guess maybe my question is about, it is all God's grace. It's just the imaginary separate self thinks that there's something to do, or that I've done to receive God's grace, and it's just been flowing throughout. And I don't know if you can make a question out of that.
A couple of things. You said that I am my mom, talking about your mom. I am my mom. So yes, in you are your mom as the formless, self, as that aware presence that has no age or gender. It has no name. In the reality of what we are, yes, there is one reality. So from that perspective, you could say, yes, I am everything that is. There isn't an actual reality to any things, because your experience of things or experience of your mom is an internal experience of your very self as relating to your mom, say.
Yeah.
A good example of it would be like right now. Right now, you could say that you're speaking with Magdi and Magdi speaking with Zoe, but in fact, if you look at your experience, my experience, Zoe, whatever Zoe is, or this conversation is happening very intimately. One could say within myself, as myself,
Yes.
distinct. There is no nothing separate, nothing apart. There isn't a you out there or a me in here. That, of course, is meditation. There is an intimacy, which is an ongoing, uninterrupted intimacy of being that right now is manifesting itself or expressing itself as a conversation.
Yeah.
So in that way, you know, there was never any Zoe and a mom as two separate realities.
Right.
Always been intimate relationship of consciousness with itself, appearing as Zoe and her mom, or mom, or Zoe's mom and Zoe, while in fact there were no separate realities. Although we felt and experienced that there was a separate me and a separate somebody called my mom, that 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 impression was is not
It's not real.
supported by our experience. Is not supported, is not verified by our experience. Now, there comes an age in our evolution where we separate ourselves. The baby separates itself from their mom, and that's when we have the formation of the separate self. As the separate self is forming, we separate ourselves from our mom. I'm not my mom.
Mm.
And then later on in the contemplation, we realize that I am consciousness, and then at some point we realize that all is consciousness. That in fact, in this, what we refer to as the waking dream, the reality of this waking dream was never in fact composed of separate people. Because our experience, which is verified right now in our relationship right now, is not an experience between two separate people. Although thought may say, you are out there and I'm out here, that very thought that says that, I'm experiencing that thought very intimately as my very self, within myself, as a vibrational appearance within myself. So, yes, I am my mom, but more than I am my mom, I am the formless self.
Right.
My relationship with my mom is an intimate relationship with myself, which is which we refer to as love.
You know, and I was just thinking, Magdi, it was so painful because I couldn't, or oh gosh, the seeming separate ness couldn't understand that, I guess, or recognize that at that time.
Of course, it's not possible. You know, there is a certain maturing, a certain ripening, you know, inquiry of our study, of our investigation, of our contemplation, to come to the understanding that we're talking about, a living understanding of what we're talking about. Of course, we all go through, you know, those times, you know, of feeling, and many of us still do, feeling very separate and feeling like, you know, the pain and the hurt of separation, the angst of separation, which is intimately connected with our belief and our feeling that we are born, that we are a body mind that is existing in time and space and that is going to die.
Wow.
This identification with a separate body creates the separate mother and the separate other, separate neighbor, separate. While in fact, our experience, when you look at our experience, there is no separation in our experience. It's complete intimacy across the board, 24/7.
Wow.
So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. The other thing, I forgot you brought up, there was something else.
Well, it was like looking at, thinking that there's any personal choice.
Oh, choice. Yes, yes,
It,
right. Was the thing about choice is like, t- one may ask ourselves, like, why do you want to trouble yourself with choice? I mean, we believe in making the right choice, the wrong choice, good choice, not the bad choice. And in fact, all that is mind. Because, as you said, we don't choose our thoughts. We experience them, we perceive them. So in fact, there is no choice. There is the thought that there is a chooser that should make the right choice. And when there is that thought, which most of us believe in, we suffer the anxiety of, oh my goodness, am I making the right choice? When should I make the choice? Shucks, I made the wrong choice. I should have chosen B instead of A. If so and so happens tomorrow, how will I choose? What will I choose? All of that is just an internal weather, right? It's some internal turmoil, I would say, that is rooted in the belief that there is a separate chooser who must do the right choice, and if they don't make the right choice, there is something at stake for that separate chooser, of course, and for their what they cherish. But when we look for the separate chooser, all we find is thoughts. The thought that I am a separate chooser. We don't actually find a separate entity that is outside of the entire field. The field is undivided. It's a seamless field of awareness, of presence, of beingness that takes on the form of thoughts, perceptions, sensations, and the form of resting and peace. So from another perspective is, why do you want to trouble yourself with choice? I mean, at an infantile level, let's say, or at a simplistic level, who cares? I mean, really, what's at stake, really? What's at stake? It's only what is at stake is what you're holding on to, what you're cherishing, what you think is important, what you feel is important, right? And
yeah.
and if you look at what you feel and what you think is important, where does that come from? Does it come from a great clarity? Does it come from a great wisdom? Or it's just a download? My family is important, my country is important, my religion is important, my home is important, my car is important, my money is important, my kids are important, my body is important. It's all downloads. They're downloads. When we look at them, we find that it's a stream of thoughts that belong to some imagined character, a dream character, that believes and feels that if I don't make the right choice, there's going to be trouble. And so we live with that internal condition, like walking on eggshells, of like, my God, I hope I make the right choice. Right? I mean, it's not happy.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not, so, you go visit your mom because that's how the dice, that's how the cards have been dealt to you, to this body mind. That you have a mom, so, and your mom is still alive and she's in the hospice, and now you have to go see her. So you go through these motions, and the entirety is love. All of it is love. And
Yeah.
me loving you or me loving my mom. Love is intimacy.
Yeah.
and it's the intimacy of the self with the self. And we also recognize in the dream that we are at different places in our journey. And also we recognize that it's all about love. And love isn't trying to teach anybody, isn't trying to save anybody, isn't trying to improve anybody. It's just, it's a presence. It's a presence that doesn't want anything, is not going anywhere, is just resting as itself.
Mm.
And it communes itself. So I wouldn't worry so much about choice, because there often are, within the thoughts about choice, there is the belief in a separate chooser, and there is often judgment.
Yeah, no, I wasn't so much worried about it. It was just more like a shift happened, seeing, I was just contemplating, okay, where's even this voice in my head coming from? And who's telling me to, if that doesn't have any cause, that's not under my control. And then, well, where's this inquiry coming from? Who am I? Why? How does that appear all of a sudden? And it just was like,
Well,
wow.
everything appears like the weather appears.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could ask, like, why does the weather appear? Why is the sun shining? It all appears that way. Similarly, the glimpse into outside of the shell, that I am this body mind, that little crack in the shell also comes like the weather.
Oh.
There isn't the question itself, why this inquiry is happening. That question itself is arising within the dream. So it's like the weather. The question itself is like the weather. So the question is the weather, and the answer to the question that says, well, everything is appearing like the weather, that also is part of the weather. In other words, the mind.
Mm.
So the question of why is there inquiry? Why does consciousness decide to awaken to itself, for example, putting it this way?
Mm.
That very question is a dream question, because it assumes that there is something or somebody that can answer this question.
Mm.
It assumes that there is some real answer to this question. Because there is something outside of consciousness that is real, that is asking a real question, and they will get a real answer. In fact, there isn't. In your experience, all is conscious. That you don't experience, in fact, that there is in reality somebody outside of consciousness that is actually within the dream, because it assumes that there is somebody outside of consciousness that is asking this question, that wants to know.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah. 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 It brought my mind to a stop, and then it was like, just, it's all God.
Yeah, you could say that the mystery and the awe remain, but the anguish, the pain, and the unhappiness go.
Ah. Yeah, that's what it was, Magdi. It was just another glimpse that was so surprising, this mystery. Yeah.
And there is no one outside of the mystery to get to know it. This is why it is said that knowing consciousness is being consciousness.
Yeah.
And being consciousness is the experience of peace, uninterrupted, causeless peace and happiness. That does not signify a healthy body or a big bank account or
All those things that we think will bring us what we want.
all the things that we chase that we believe are essential for our happiness. So therefore our happiness is always downstream. When we are believing that there are whatever it is essential for our happiness, then our happiness is downstream because we have to get those things, we have to pursue these things and get them, and then tomorrow or after tomorrow we will be happy. But consciousness knowing itself is consciousness being itself, and that is the experience of causeless peace and happiness, which cannot be described outside of just these words that I'm sharing with you. And of course, it refers to the actual experience, the living experience of that. Not just the words, of course, as you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Zoe, and safe travel.
Thank you.
Enjoy your presence with your mom.
I will. Thanks.
Any questions?
Hi, Maggie.
Hello, Esther.
Would you speak to the phrase?
I did not hear that, Esther.
Would you speak to the phrase dying before the body dies?
Oh, okay, yes, dying before the body dies. So there is the relative death and there is the absolute death. The relative death is the death of the body. The absolute death is the death of ignorance, the ending of the impression of separation, the belief and the feeling that I am a body mind, that I am a person. So the death before dying refers to the absolute death before the relative death. In fact, there is no before or after. All that is illusion. There is just the eternity of the self, the transparency of being, which never comes and goes, which has no cause, which has no destination, which has no destiny. It is self-sufficient upon itself and onto itself. Having said that, in the dream, there is the unhappy identity, the unhappy belief that I am born and therefore that I must die. So the thorn of mortality haunts us throughout our life, and we are seeking to find the causeless peace and happiness that goes beyond that belief, beyond that feeling. We seek it everywhere. And body-mind is on a time clock. In our contemplation, we get insights into our true nature. The insights that reveal to us that we are not the effect of any cause, that we are that which has no precedent, that we are the absolute self. In a way that is sort of a death before the death of the body, before the relative death, but it's still not the absolute death, because although we may have this glimpse into the transparency and the universality of being, the impersonal self, we still have a journey ahead of us to eliminate the feeling within our body and the various reactions within our body, the various contractions within our body that still maintain the old paradigm, that maintain the unhappiness within our experience. And so there is the Vasanic process, the journey of surrender, of non-action, contemplation of the teaching, the reflection and the meditation upon the teaching, resting as being, that result in the ending, in the death of the separate self-impression. So the Vasanic process, the journey after the initial glimpse, when we are fortunate to be conducting our inquiry correctly, will lead us to a thinner and thinner and thinner impression of separation. The belief in being a man or a woman weakens, thins out, and the reality and the transparency of awareness, of presence, of consciousness sort of comes to the forefront, becomes more so our experience. And the thinning process, goes on until one could say that the unhappiness no longer arises. In fact, yes, I would say until the unhappiness no longer arises, the separate self is no longer your experience. So that would be the death that precedes, the absolute death that precedes the relative death. In the spiritual inquiry, there are many people who mistake the glimpse, the initial glimpse or the initial glimpses, especially the big ones, into the separate self-shell, and reveal the glory of the universal self. Many mistake that to be the death, the absolute death, meaning the death of the separate self, while in fact it is not. And it is really important to understand that the absolute death, meaning the death of the separate self, has to be unequivocal. And the way you know it is unequivocal is when you are no longer suffering, irrespective of what is happening in the waking dream, what is happening at the world, body, mind level. all is well. And for the people at large, I would say be watchful not to stop halfway along your journey, because you just delay your happiness.
Magdi, I'm beginning to see how there's no halfway. There's no halfway. There's no, there's a direct correlation between staying real and living happily and peacefully.
Yeah.
And then I sometimes find in this journey, you know, wanting more inner strength and courage, but then I see that inner strength only comes from staying true to the truth. And
Yeah.
there's no other way to get it. There's no other way to get it.
Yes. 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 To be watchful that to understand that this journey is an impersonal journey. It's like the stream is flowing towards the ocean. It will just flow. Even when it gets to a flat valley, it will fill the valley and then it will continue flowing. It is an impersonal journey. It's an impersonal path. It's a path of love, of joy, of happiness, of love. And one could say that we have the responsibility, once we have been touched by grace, we have a responsibility to honor this gift and to take it home, all the way home, on behalf of everyone and everything. Yes, so
Thanks, Magdi.
and along the way, all the help you need will become available to you via grace.
Yeah, I really see that happening. Thank you.
Okay, Esther. Okay, question that was sent to me. What does it mean we are all one and I am one with everything? I try very hard to understand this teaching, but I am unable to go beyond my thoughts about it, and it doesn't seem to be helpful. Is there a way you can clarify this or show me how to look at this question so I can get its meaning? What does it mean we are all one and I am one with everything? Oh, we talked about that, didn't we? I think this is why I was saying I'm one with my mom. Yeah. We are all one refers to the seamless, the formless, the non-phenomenal quality of consciousness. That consciousness is not made out of objects, is not made out of things. And what we experience as things, separate things, is just a download from the initial belief, the initial thought that I am a separate self. As soon as you say, I am a separate self, meaning I'm this particular body mind, you define yourself As soon as you define yourself, then when you hear we are all one, all is one, you won't get it. Because here I am, a separate self. What do you mean we are all one? So there's this initial belief, this initial virus that gets in the way of being able to get to that understanding, to what these words are referring to. We are all one is basically saying there are no things. There are no separate things. There are no separate objects. There are no objects. What we refer to as objects are like what you refer to in your night dream as the pink flying elephant. In your night dream, there is a pink flying elephant, and that's an object, but in fact, there isn't a real object. It is just your mind. It's the creation of your mind, of the dreamer's mind. So similarly, to understand that all is one, that I am one with everything, is to understand what the I means. The I does not refer to Magdi or Jim, or it doesn't refer to a specific body mind. The I refers to what is real, not what is illusory, what is imaginary. And what is it that is real in your experience? If you look at that question, you will not find that it's the body. You will not find that it's any sensation, any perception, any thought. You will find that it is the I that is real, and that I is awareness. It's formless, shapeless, ageless, genderless. And when you look at things, you will find that things is a thought process. And that thought process is intimate with the I, with awareness. There isn't a separate object. And also, when you look at things, you will find that, in fact, all you know of things is your experience of them, and the experiencing of things is things. And experiencing is intimate with consciousness. For example, when you look at a table, the table is made out of experiencing. The reality of the table is experiencing. And then we say table. There is a classification: table, chair, blah, blah, tree, car. But before the classification, your experience is made out of knowingness. And this knowingness, you cannot call it an object. It is intimate with the awareness. Knowingness and awareness are one. It's the same synonym. They're synonyms. So in fact, your contemplation of the I, what we mean by I, and what do we mean by things, will both bring you to the one reality, which is the reality of awareness. You also say, what is perception? You speak of a perception without a perceiver. What do you refer to? All perceptions refer to their substance, which is silence. All thoughts, sensations, perceptions refer to that reality, which is stillness and silence. So perception without perceiver is perceiving the silence, being the stillness that the perception refers to. It is a sort of perceiving and knowing yourself simultaneously. When you know yourself, the perception is returned to the source. You're not going downstream in the perception. The perception is brought upstream to the source, which is the knowingness of it, which is the silence and the stillness of being. And in that return, the perceiver and the perceived are one. And in the going outwardly, the perceiver and the perceived are two. When you look at your experience and you are contemplating, what am I truly? You will realize that there is a motionless, unmoving, unmoved, unborn quality in your experience that doesn't come and go, that is not going after anything. Bring your perception to it. It's a way of speaking, because in fact your perception is intimate with it. But if it may help you to bring your perception to it, go ahead and do that. But in fact, your perception is already one with it. The perceiver arises as a thought after the fact. Perception, which is non-dual, is your true experience. But then thought appropriates this true experience and says, oh, I, whatever, I, somebody, I, Magdi, I, this person, have perceived the tree. You see. So the duality is after the fact. And the fact is non-dual. Truth, reality is non-dual. And then the mind comes and makes a narrative about me, the perceiver, and the object perceived. You have to come to notice this process within yourself. And you understand it. Any questions? Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, I thank you all for your lovely company and for this lovely satsang together. And happy Martin Luther King Day. And we'll see you next week, yes? Okay. If you all my love.
Okay.
Thank you, Bhakti.
Okay.
Thank you, Magdi.
All of you.
Thank you.
John and Steve.